Maybe it isn't a beech tree. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Hello, Goose. Yeah, this goose is see, we got a nest here. A goose nest. So I probably should get out of here. Because this goose is going to F me up. I don't want to get too close to this father goose. Little goose. Alright. Hello. Hello, Goosey. Are you a spring nesting goose, father? Are you defending your goose eggs? Are you defending your goose eggs? Aren't you, huh? Don't you want to break my face with your wing? Yeah, you want to snap my neck with your little wing. Your big wing, huh? Yeah. Hi, Goosey. Hi. How's it going? How you geeses doing? Welcome to beautiful Piedmont, South Carolina. Behind me here flows the mighty Saluda River, the same river we were previously fishing on. This was the land of hydro-powered cotton mills, child slave labor, and a strong history of regional textile domination. But like all former juggernauts, the U.S. sold its manufacturing down the river. No pun intended. Here's an old checkpoint. Checkpoint for a gate. Where gate guards used to guard and welcome people into the factory. People bringing in parts of the cotton mill. People bringing in probably most likely product in by either horse, buggy, or cart. Let's take a look. And now you can tell it's just completely abandoned. This is where they used to check in people. See? There's the window. They would check in people who are working from the factories and bringing product, finished textile and finished cotton, bring it out so the rest of the world could buy it. Here we have cats. And a magpie. Magpie going after a cat as well. This was the welcoming gate for the mill. Bring in textiles, cotton product in and out, so the rest of the world could buy it. So this is where they would haul it out. The Piedmont Manufacturing Company opened in 1876, and it was the epicenter of America's textile manufacturing. By 1900, this massive factory was the second largest textile producer in the U.S., and by the early 1900s, the region was known as the textile center for the world. This is a huge smokestack that would fire up the mills. They use hydroelectric power from the Saluda River right over here. See that? And that cause these mills to work and to power, steam power, and coal power, and fire up all of the machinery that would be responsible for making cotton, all the looms. Huge smokestacks. Gas, well, not gas powered, but coal powered and hydroelectric powered. engineering feat of the early 1900s. It's all the way up. Wow, someone could do some climbing up there. Honnold could do some climbing. Alex Honnold, I believe his name is. Climb up there.
Yeah, no problem.
Good for rappelling. Probably quite dangerous as well. And even there's trees growing up there on the top of this smokestack. Believe it or not. "126 years old, that smokestack is. Old brick. It's an ancient ruin. Crazy to think. What is that? How many years ago would that be? 120 something years ago? But even more recently, 80 to 90 years ago, this was fully active. People are fishing over there. Okay. Well, this wasn't just a factory town. This was a working machine powered by children and poor families, working the looms, spinning cotton into cloth, which would become our clothing. And now, we got pentagrams, pentagram graffiti. Yeah, this looks like the just the shell of the factory. It's just the remnants, because a lot of it was torn down. Especially once manufacturing was sent overseas, post-1960s, post-World War II. Probably late 50s, early 60s, they began to ship everything out. Because they would find cheaper labor in China. Because labor was too expensive here. So the elite and the ones running the industrial class were like, hey, we need to find cheaper labor. Our slave labor here is too expensive. So we're going to send it to China and Asia. Starting in Hong Kong after World War II, and then finally into mainland China. That's why if you look at old toys, you'll still see made in Hong Kong, a lot of them, which is really interesting. It's before production and factory production moved into China. Kind of an interesting tidbit that a lot of people might not know.
And all these mill houses up here, there was a contractor that built all these houses.
Okay.
For all the people to live in, they could work at the mill.
Okay.
So they had too far to drive. So all them mill houses, the people that worked in the mill here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all them over there was mill houses. Over there too that people lived in.
Okay.
They would come right to the mill and work. Local grocery store was there, cafe.
There's a friendly local named Frankie Prince. He is a local church planner and works for the Department of Transportation. Really, really friendly guy. Told me a lot about what this place used to be and have. Poor men, women, and children worked 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, earning themselves roughly $1.20 a week, the equivalency of minimum wage by today's standards. 30% of the textile workers here were between the ages of 10 and 16. Save Kinder, save children, basically children, because the prefrontal cortex isn't developed, they say now to 28. This is where we just came from. Solid steel. And brick. Red brick. They paid in company issued tokens, only usable at the mill store, where they were further price gouged, essentially ensuring themselves poverty status until they could no longer work. Now up here is a bridge. It's a steel bridge supported by concrete slabs. And on top of that bridge is a rail. And that rail transported all the textiles and all the materials needed to make cotton. In 1984, most of this mill burnt down to a crispy crisp. Let's walk down this beachhead over here. This is a nice freshwater beach clearing. The kudzu hasn't taken off yet, so usually by come summertime, mid to late summer, this whole area is completely covered with kudzu. With the invasive species, invasive Asian plant species called kudzu. And underneath the kudzu are roving schools, gangs, if you will, of not hyenas. What are they called? Not dingoes, coyotes. And they're not schools, because schools are for fish. That's for schools. So what it is it's not gangs, because that's for people. And it's not herds, because that's for like bovine-like creatures. What is the word for it? Packs. That's right, packs. You'll have packs of coyotes that hang out here under the kudzu. And if you're alone at night, you have to be careful, because a pack of coyotes can even take down a human. This is where the homeless people come down to bathe, get cleaned up for their 9-to-5s and their professional work days. They get it all cleaned up, they have a nice little shave, put a little deodorant on, and go about their day. The company that ran this mill built identical row houses, churches, baseball teams, and schools, all revolving around the mill. It was essentially a glorified labor camp. And now, all those labor camps, we've exported them to China and other countries in Asia, which actually are it's hard to actually find and see those now, because a lot of times they won't let cameras in to factories because of because of the things that are happening in those factories. So every time you look through this screen and that you get on your phone or you plug something electronic in, just remember where it comes from and the amount of perhaps bad things that have happened in order to just obtain that piece of electronic equipment or that battery. Just if we could remember where it came from, maybe that would help our humanity. I don't know. Who knows? Well, enough about child labor laws and kids under the age of 12 in Asian countries and countries in the global south basically making all of our products for cheap, which is just, I mean, that's just, at this point, I mean, it's almost been normalized, unfortunately. I mean, I think everyone probably knows now where everything comes from, and we like to think it's cleanly and ethically sourced, but factory work hasn't changed that much, believe it or not. It's only gone to another country. We moved it from the US to other countries that completely disregard any type of child laws or child labor laws. So yeah, even as I film this on my DJI Osmo camera and I work on my monologue on my Samsung phone, well, guess what? Was it ethically sourced when it was made in a factory? And how can we find out? And I think nowadays, when you think of these lithium mines in Africa and DRC, and you wonder how many children or how many vulnerable women who are young, children and women or mothers have actually were in a mine, a toxic mine that is causing chronic health problems. Well, but they're mining our batteries for our phone that I need to check Instagram 10 times a day. The companies realized they could make a far better profit by moving all manufacturing to the global south. And so from the 1960s onward, the system began to intentionally collapse on itself. And then finally, it would disappear completely. Got a little homeless encampment here. Sliced pears. Get your nutrients and your vitamins in you. Pears and Marlboro menthols. I always love the smell of empty cigarette boxes. Reminds me of my childhood in Austria, where like 8-year-old kids could smoke. I remember when I was 5 years old, my mom, I found in the playground, I found a pack of Marlboro Reds and brought them home, and I was like, I want to smoke these! Ah! And my mom's like, go ahead. And she watched me smoke a cigarette, and she realized that, you know, how I would react to it. And of course, I don't know if I threw up, but I got pretty sick. I learned my lesson. Fish scale. Remnants of a dead fish. Oh, I should not have touched that. Yikes. I gotta get that off. Then again, I don't know if I actually learned my lesson, because honestly, smoking is quite delicious. I don't know if it encouraged me to smoke or not, but either way, it's a funny story. But I was able to control, at least in my mind, the mental aspect of addiction, which was interesting. So I could pick it up, let it go whenever I wanted to, which most people can't do. Oh, look at this, a lure. The remainder of it's like a Carolina rig with a weight for bass, or some brassy. Pretty cool. The things you find along the river at an old, decrepit, abandoned factory. Now my question is to the world. What can be done to ameliorate these social ills that the U.S. keeps attempting to export to the world through its fundamentally flawed and compromised corporate institutions and NGOs? I don't know, Elon. I mean, I know that you tried with Doge, but this is a continual battle, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. During graduate school one summer, I remember specifically a wise and salty bartender in Prague giving me trouble on how the US used to export great culture to the East. but that anything post-2020 was pretty much pure social malaise and fallacious poison coming from the West. Well, I couldn't disagree with his outline of our propaganda campaigns, and I couldn't have agreed more. Here in the US, we use our cultural soft power to control other nations in the guise of DEI, ESG, and the Human Rights Campaign, which are all fully compromised by big money. They are totally manufactured, with the aim being corporate control and domination, couched in guise to have you convinced that you are being empathic. But in all reality, it is exactly the opposite, and it is causing major harm and social division. As an entire economic system disappears, especially one built around generational labor, blue-collar communities lose their entire sense of purpose and structure. The collapse happens completely. What you see throughout the United States today is the downstream consequence of us shipping our manufacturing overseas. Now pour the Sackler family, which is Purdue Pharma, roughly 1 million deaths caused by them, and fentanyl on the issue, and what precedes is addiction, meth zombie encampments, and visible destruction. Luckily, this poverty culture is far smaller in the red states, unlike the deep blue states, where the homeless industrial complex is very big money. If you're interested in reading about this specific issue, I highly recommend the book by Michael Schellenberger called San Francisco. It outlines how deeply corrupt bureaucrats use the homeless epidemic for pure profiteering. What is the answer for the United States to heal its social malaises? The American social issues, overall culture, and retardations are highly complex and driven by perverse corporate incentives, shaped by neoliberalism. The core idea here is that money can be made off of the back of virtually anything, which is 100% false and leads to death and desolation. Looks like we have a beech tree here. Prunus beechus. That is the Latin genus. I just made that up. I don't know what it is, but I do know that it is very beachy looking. Maybe it isn't a beech tree. Who knows? The Australian accent, actually more of a New Zealand accent for saying who knows. It goes like this. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Live redworms. Looks like a type of a little indicator, strike indicator, and barbed wire and a fish tail. Found a dry millipede on the side of the road here. Fish food, recycling, going back right into the earth, right where it came from, to feed other organisms. This is the era of suicidal and toxic corporate empathy. This corrupted political culture is unfortunately deeply embedded in deep blue states, but the disease is also present in some purple and red states as well. In conclusion, I will say that we need massive reform, deconstruction, and a total reset in priorities. All right, I said my piece. Let's move on. Schau her mal, was haben wir hier? Israel, Graffiti für Israel. Ja, das haben wir hier. Guess what, everybody? I'm underneath a white pine. A white pine. White pine. Our favorite in this channel, I think our favorite pine, our favorite tree has got to be the white pine at this point. Why? Why is it white? Why? Previously on The World Is You. It's a beautiful tree. Oh no! Why is it white? Why is the pine white? Ah! So I'm around the neighborhood, which is very close to the mill here, and these are old homes that were built on the outskirts of the Piedmont cotton mill. After 1984, after the fire that occurred here, there really isn't much left. Now there's a lot of businesses surrounding these factories, so you have a shell, 2 smokestacks and a shell of what used to be factories. And in the back, you can see right here, we have the remnants of what was once the old Piedmont cotton mill from the 1900s. And now it's just fenced off private property. And there's no way I can get in here unless they're kind enough to let me in. And no one's here today. So you may ask, what is the future of manufacturing here in the U.S.? Well, only the gods know. That looks like I would say probably a 100-foot drop right there. 80-foot drop probably. So however many meters that might be, that's like, what, 10, 30 meters, 40 meters? And this drop over here is a lot less. This is where the mill was active, and all this water from the Saluda River would activate the turbines, and those turbines would actually cause the mill to work. It would be steam powered, but also hydroelectric or hydro water powered. And so all of this down here is broken rock, all broken rock and brick from basically little areas that would sequester off water and funnel it in a small little area, causing a lot of power. And that would spin the turbines. And all that water would flow down river, but it would get sequestered off, and it would power these turbines. And the turbines, here's an example of a turbine. The gate hoist, the ore gate hoist made by Lombard Ironworks. Old metal from Georgia, from the turn of the century. These were the turbines that were responsible for moving the bridge and containing the water. Now these turbines were powered by the water, also by steam and coal. And because of these turbines, it would basically control the power of the water. And once you could control the power of the water, you could determine how much input goes into the factories, whether you need more or less power to fuel the mills and the spindles. And within the factories, you had all the cotton gins. So this is basically the beginning of the cotton gin process. Basically, this is the outside peripheral area that was responsible for firing up the cotton gins that were inside of the factories. Pretty cool. Pretty awesome. And all our clothing that we wore, or at least I should say all the clothing that our grandparents and great-grandparents wore, came from factories and cotton mills like this. And this was one of the biggest ones in all of the U.S. Now, the pollution on the river isn't as bad as, let's say, Pokhara, Nepal, or Kathmandu, or India, or even Africa. But it's still, it's still got its pollution. This is the Western Five Eyes America level of pollution. See? Take a look. But it's it's not as drastic as other countries. Some other countries that I've been to and that I will be going to in a few months here are a lot more polluted. America's actually doing pretty good, pollution-wise. Not socially, but see, that's where the water is coming out of. This whole bridge that I'm standing on acts as a natural dike. All right. All right. In order to get to the mill, you have to kind of go in a roundabout way, go around a lot of fencing, but it's worth it because then you get to see what old architecture of the turn of the century looked like. All right, back on dry land. Back on dry land. Now it's a total wasteland. There's nothing here except for the natural habitat of herons and geese and fish. And we've sold our manufacturing down the river. Geese protecting their young and it's spring. So I think this goose, it wants to... Hello, goose. Yeah, this goose is... See, we got a nest here. A goose nest. So I probably should get out of here. Because this goose is going to F me up. I don't want to get too close to this father goose. Little goose. Alright. That's a sign for me to leave. You don't want to get hit by a Canadian goose wing. That would be terrible. It would really hurt you. But there's some nesting geese, some spring nesting geese. Pretty cool. spring nesting geese. Hello. Hello. Hello, Goosey. Are you a spring nesting goose, Father? Are you defending your goose eggs? Are you defending your goose eggs? Aren't you, huh? Don't you want to break my face with your wing? Yeah, you want to snap my neck with your little wing, your big wing, huh? Yeah. Hi, Goosey. Hi. How's it going? How you geese doing? If I get any closer to these geese, they will attack me. They'll first hiss, and then open their mouth like that. They go, and then they'll spread their wings and go, and then start honking at me. So it's best that I kind of extract myself from the situation and give them a little distance. I need to get out of that. I don't want to disturb them. Plus, they're in parenthood. They're in parenting time. They're parenthood. Like, let them have their parenthood. In fact, we need for them to procreate and keep making geese. Otherwise, the geese would stop. And if the geese stop, we stop. If the geese stop, we stop. Remember that. So give parents a little space when they're rearing their children. That's right, government, you heard me. Give parents space when they're rearing their children. Get out of the home, government. Give the geese room. Give the parental... See what I'm doing? I'm being responsible. I'm not going up to the eggs and opening them and examining them and naming them and identifying them. No. I'm giving the parents room, and I'm allowing the parents to identify their children and to take care of their children. See, I'm doing what the government should be doing, is staying out of parental rights. All right, enough of that ranting. Taking the minds of the baby geese, taking their minds away, and the government owning the baby goose's mind. No bueno. Parental rights, very important. Something that is being lost in the U.S. here. But I think it's gaining ground. I think it'll get better. I'm an optimist. I really am. Definitely an optimist. We're going to take a look at some of this architecture from the turn of the century. Take a look. Wow. Pretty cool. Old brick building. Pretty amazing. See if there's anything eventful here. Oh, looks like it's just an entryway and an exit way. That's all. This is where they would transport all of the raw materials that were manufactured within the mill. This is how they would get them out. This is the front gate. This gate is from 1900s. Pretty cool. Pretty awesome. I like it. Western. But I'm guessing this might be a part of the mill. I don't know if this was the office or if this is where they did that, maybe some of the packaging, where they packaged some of the raw materials. But check it out. Look at the spindles. The lattice work up here on the top here, this entryway. That is amazing. Wow, it's definitely rickety. Definitely rickety. Whoa. It doesn't feel that stable. This old door. Look at that. Wow. Of course, they locked it. The entryway has really interesting spandrels and finials. Now, that entryway kind of adornment, and then also look, there's a light bulb holder too. It holds the light bulb for when you want to come in and it's dark at night and you want to be able to see. So it definitely doesn't feel stable. Doesn't feel stable. Wasp. I'm gonna leave that wasp alone. There's another entryway too, another front gate, which was an entrance also to the mill. Here it is right here. You can look in there and see something that I might not see. Because I don't know what's in there. I can't really see from here. So it's boarded up. Definitely boarded up on all sides. But this is also from the turn of the century. Solid brick built, gosh, over 126 years ago. Now completely obsolete. Entryway to the old Piedmont mill. Thank you for joining me today on this show and tell journey here in Piedmont, South Carolina. I hope you saw something new and unique. It's crazy to think that this place pretty much clothed the world from the early 1900s all the way to the 1960s. And then, poof, it disappeared, leaving a marvelous architectural shell of what was once a manufacturing empire. What is the future of manufacturing here in the US? One might ask. Well, only the gods know. Well, I'll see you next time. Same channel, same place.